Hello, everyone. My name is Reece Anderson, and I'm a first-year medical student at Oklahoma State University College of Osteopathic Medicine at the Cherokee Nation. I'm excited to share a project we've been working on entitled Institutional Review Board Submission Reporting for Exempt Human Subject Research using clinicaltrials.gov. Institutional review boards are groups that are tasked with ensuring the highest standard of ethical behavior in the context of human subject research. These groups have served an instrumental role in the medical research since the National Research Act of 1974 was codified into law. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services specifies that research involving collection of data from publicly available sources, such as clinicaltrials.gov, is exempt from IRB oversight. While it is unanimously agreed upon that there is a necessity for ethical guidelines in research, IRB approval has been met with some challenges and criticisms. First and foremost, the IRB system is overloaded and is struggling to stay afloat. Some critics believe that IRB spend too much time reviewing aspects of studies that are, in their opinion, beyond the scope of the IRB. We hypothesize that the IRB submission rates will be low among the studies included in our trial as well. However, as no publication was found to have investigated whether these studies were subjected to an ethical review, our objectives were to evaluate rates of study submission to an IRB among cross-sectional studies using the clinicaltrials.gov database, and to determine whether the external contact was made to collect or procure additional information for the study. Thus, we determined associations between IRB submission, additional data inquiries, and country in which the study was conducted. We began our study by searching PubMed for publications, which included clinicaltrials.gov in the title or abstract as the index term. Only cross-sectional studies published after 2011 that were published in journals with 5 or more search returns were included. Of the initial 700 trials, 57 were selected based on our inclusion criteria. Data was extracted in a masked, double-blind fashion that included systematically reviewing eligible studies for the terms IRB, review board, human subjects, ethics, and any variations thereof. Statistical analysis of our results consisted of frequencies and cumulative percentages of study characteristics, and chi-square tests were used to measure associations between IRB submission and country of first author, among other characteristics. Of the 57 studies that met inclusion criteria, 25 reported having funding for the study. 4 of the studies reported having contacted the principal investigator to collect additional data missing from the database or to inquire why a study was not registered. Based on the first author's country of affiliation, a majority, 33 of the studies, were conducted in the United States. Of these articles, none declared that they were submitted to an IRB or ethics review panel. Authors of 16 of the studies declared that these studies did not meet human subject research within the manuscript, and 42 made no mention of IRB or ethics review whatsoever. Each of the studies that included explicit statements regarding exemption from IRB approval were published in journals with corresponding requirements to declare the ethical compliance. We found no significant associations whether the authors declared their study was not subjected to IRB oversight or those who had no mention of IRB oversight, compared to whether the study was funded, the country of origin, or studies which reported contacting PIs for additional information. Studies which reported contacting the principal investigator were thought to be considered human subject research because the identifiable information was publicly available, such as the author's name, affiliations, and contact information. In theory, these studies should be could be considered human subject research, but the lack of IRB submission tells a different story entirely. Ultimately, these findings suggest that ethical approval for the meta-research of CT.gov data regularly meet federal exemption criteria, which leads us to speculate that journals which require submission of an IRB exemption form, while well-intentioned, may inadvertently create another barrier to the accessibility of information. In closing, the authors of this study recommend establishing a standardized protocol for use by journals in order to streamline the efficiency of IRB reporting requirements to mitigate the burden on university ethics boards and prevent unnecessary regulatory impediments.